And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Animation Edition Season 9. This is episode 3 already, and we have back with us, trying again, his hand at the million, a very familiar face to the game show, a Disney lover, a film critic, and animation historian. You name it, he's done it, and he's watched it. Mr. Jonathan North, how are you, sir?
Yeah, pretty good.
Thanks for coming back. I think I was looking at the stats. This is your 5th appearance on the show, so thanks for continuing to come back.
I can't believe it's been 5, but yeah, no problem. I like doing this.
Yeah, they just all like merge together in your mind.
Yeah.
And before, if for people who don't know who you are or haven't seen this, care to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Jonathan North. I have several podcasts, and I think the one that probably that will be most interesting right now to the listeners will be the Disney Movie Marathon. But hopefully later this year, I will have a fourth podcast called I Heart Animation, and it will be exactly what it sounds like. I love animation. I'm going to talk about a lot of it, and Mark will be on it as well. So hopefully that will launch in August.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys to listen to that because it's our the podcasts we do with Jonathan are really fun and really informative and just overall good time. And we
Hmm.
talk for a long time, so we're passionate
Yeah,
about this stuff.
yeah.
Jonathan has a whole lot of stuff on the cutting room floor that he can tell you about. For anyone who's new to this game show. This is a 12-question multiple choice game show about anything even remotely related to the field of animation. As long as Jonathan keeps getting questions right, he goes higher up the ladder. Once he gets one wrong, that's the end of the game, and he leaves with the last number of points from the last safe haven. He has 3 lifelines to help him 50-50, gets rid of 2 wrong answers. A phone a friend if he chooses. He can call on someone for help or an Ask the Expert. This season, our expert is Mr. Stanford Clark, a Disney lover, a film critic, a film historian, and the winner of the game show last season. I've asked him all these questions for this season, and Jonathan gets to see how he answered, decide if he wants to go with that or not. And if Jonathan gets to the 32,000 point, he gets a fourth lifeline, a double dip, which gives him 2 chances at answering a question. If someone gets to the million, if Jonathan gets to the million, he'll win $100 Amazon gift card. If not, if no one gets to the million, we have a second round where the top 5 will come back for a second chance. And if still no one gets to the million, the winner will be whoever has the highest total score from both rounds, and we'll get a $50 Amazon gift card. After that introduction, Jonathan, are you ready to play Millionaire?
Yes.
I'm excited. Can you see my screen?
Yep. There it is.
All right, here we go. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Animation Edition. It's not getting big. Come on. You can do it. There we go. And this is your lateral points. Remember, the yellow ones are your benchmarks. Once you get to those, you can't lose them no matter what. And again, everyone, this is Stanford Clark. Check out his blog at moviespastpresent.com, as well as the Animation Fascination website and podcast. And they're very good resources if you're into movies and into animation. He's the guy to check out. Jonathan, let's get you started. I'm excited about this episode. 500 points. At what time will the magic spell that the fairy godmother applied on Cinderella expire in the animated 1950 Disney canon film Cinderella? Is it 3:37 a.m., 4:09 p.m., midnight, or 1:58 p.m.?
Midnight. Final answer.
Nothing is final to say final answer, so take your time, but I think you know your answer is correct. Good job. I'm just imagining this being like an afternoon ball and it ends at 1:58 p.m. and her clock is slow. And there she just transforms in front of everybody. Have we recorded a Cinderella episode for your podcast yet?
I did one with Rachel and Eli, I believe.
Okay. Oh, I was okay. I remember I was supposed to
I
be on
think
that,
you were
but
gonna
I
be on it, but then something came up and you couldn't
yeah.
make it.
I know it sounded familiar, but are you a Cinderella fan overall?
Yeah, the Disney one is probably not my favorite version. The favorite version probably would be Ever After, but I
Okay.
really like the Disney one, and I also really like the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, the one from the 90s, because that's the one I grew up with.
I've heard a lot of
So
people say that about Ever After, but I've never seen it. So, but I heard a lot of people say that's their favorite Cinderella version. So I gotta see it
it's
one day.
it's really good. I also really like Ella Enchanted, even though it's absolutely nothing like the book.
Oh, yeah. I like that movie too, but I didn't think that had. I guess it was something somewhat similar to Cinderella, but it was its own thing also
It's
as well.
based on Cinderella, but it's a book, and the
Yeah,
book is different than the movie. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but for diehard fans of the book, it is a bad thing. I know there are complaints about that, but I like both.
I never read the book, so I wouldn't care. And for everyone else listening, Jonathan and I will be doing a podcast on the Slipper and the Rose sometime, in the near future. So
Yep.
keep a lookout for that. That's another. I'm interested to see what you think about that one, and that'll be interesting one to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan, you're doing amazing. The next one's 1,000 points. I have to remind you, if you get it wrong, you'll leave with nothing. I don't think it's going to happen, but just to remind you, 1,000 points. Let's go. Which character from the animated 1953 Disney canon film Peter Pan has their own animated direct-to-video film series? To Captain Hook, Tinkerbell, Wendy Darling, or Tiger Lily?
Tinkerbell, final answer.
Well, I'm sorry to say it was Tiger Lily. No, you're right. It was Tinkerbell. You have 1,000 points no matter what you do today. I think the only one of these I've seen was the first Tinkerbell, and the reason I watched it was I was going through the Rotoscopers Animation Addicts podcast, a website that both of us used to write for in the past. Well, maybe you still do, but I don't. And
I think I'm technically still on there, but I haven't written one for probably at least a year.
all right, so yeah, it's been a while for both of us, and they did a episode about Tinkerbell, and I wanted to watch the movie first before listening to the podcast, so that's the only reason I watched it. If you ask me anything about the movie, I don't remember.
I haven't seen any of them, but I'm planning on it. I'm going to do a podcast on all of them with Katie Fabric. She grew up with these, so it'll be interesting to talk to her about these.
I think that'll play a very positive role if you grew up with them and have nostalgia to them.
Hmm.
But like to you
That
and me, hearing someone growing up with these makes us feel very old.
Yeah, I'm doing a series on Peter Pan, like the Disney Peter Pan things with Stanford Clark, and you're actually going to be on one of those episodes. But I asked him about doing the Tinkerbell ones. He had no interest. So then I started asking around, and since Katie actually grew up with them, I thought she'd be the perfect one to do that episode.
Nice. So yeah, we'll keep a lookout for that, and yeah, keep a lookout for our Peter Pan episode as well. Peter Pan and Wendy in particular. So
Yes.
that's two things for you people to look out for. Whoever's listening to to watching this video. Okay,
Yes.
Jonathan, you're doing amazing. I want to get you farther. You have all your lifelines, 2,000 points. Let's go. Which character does Tigger refer to as Old Longears in the animated 1977 Disney canon film The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh? Is it Piglet, Owl, Rabbit, or Winnie the Pooh?
Well, by process of elimination, I think it's probably rabbit. Final answer.
Well, you process of elimination. Is it correct? Your answer is correct. Good job.
I would have had a harder time if Eeyore was in there because it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I was thinking of putting Eeyore as a choice, but I said no. This is for a 2,000 point question. I can't make it. That's too hard for a 2,000 point question. So
Yeah.
I replaced it with Winnie the Pooh himself. But yeah, you're right. With Eeyore, it would have been harder. That would have been like a 5,000 point question or something. But yeah, he calls him old long ears in this package film, and it's one that I love a lot. It's probably I'm currently going through the canon again for a rewatch, and I think this is going to be in my top 10 favorites at the moment. But
Okay.
I'm still like halfway through. I just finished Great Mouse Detective. And Winnie the Pooh is one that they're making horror films about now, so
I think
it's one
they're probably eventually going to try and do that to all of them as they come into public domain.
horror. I'm sure horror Pinocchio has been done multiple times.
Yes.
I feel that's just begging for for a horror film. Heck, the animated film was kind of horrifying at many
Kind of in
levels.
some places.
All right, Jonathan, you're doing amazing. Let's keep going. 5,000 points. Which of the following was the first stop motion animated film from Laika? Is it Kubo and the Two Strings, Coraline, The Box Trolls, or Paranormal?
Coraline, final answer.
Just whizzing through these. Did I make these too easy? Your answer is correct. Are you a Coraline man?
I've only seen it once, and I didn't know what it was when I watched it, and I kind of hated it at the time. I think I would appreciate it more now, but I need to go back and revisit it.
What do you mean when you said you didn't know what it was?
I didn't know it was a kids' horror movie.
Okay. What were you expecting?
It's something like Pixar, I guess. I don't know. I just thought it was going to be a fun movie about a little girl in a weird world. I don't
Wholesome
know. I didn't
film.
know what it was going to be.
Touchy feely thing. Yeah, I'm like you that I only saw this once, and that was like near when it came out. So I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember not liking it that much. I didn't hate it, but it was like a favorite of mine. But like now, I hear a lot of people say how awesome this movie is, and
It's
it's
really
like in the
become more popular these days.
so that might be it. So like I have to do a rewatch of it because it's been way too long.
Yeah, eventually I want to go through all the Leica films because I still haven't seen Paranorman. The other
Okay,
ones I've seen slightly more recently, but yeah, I need to watch them all again.
and that shouldn't be too hard because there's only like what 5 now, I think, something like that.
There's not very many. They
Yeah,
don't make them very often.
no, but I think all that they've made have been hits. I don't know. I can't remember if the Box Trolls was a big hit or not.
As far as I can remember, that one is my favorite. So
That's another thing. I see all these movies only once, and they don't really leave an impact. So I can't even tell you which one's my favorite of them. And like I don't
yeah, I
hate
don't
any
know.
of them, but like I don't know.
I love Leica's style, but the movies don't stick with me like other things do.
Correct. I totally agree. I think their next film is called Wildwood or something like that. And I think that. I know they released a voice cast like early this year, so hopefully that's coming out soon. But
Mhm.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Jonathan, you're swimming through this with flying colors. 10,000 points. Let's go. Which of the following animated on Bluth films features the Academy Award nominated song Somewhere Out There? Is it An American Tale? All Dogs Go to Heaven? Secret of Nim? Or Thumbelina?
An American Tail, final answer.
Sheesh. Your answer is correct. Were you studying for this?
No.
That's good. Yeah, it is an American Tale, and it. I didn't plan this, but the one of the co-writers of this film of this song, Cynthia Weil, I think she recently passed away within the past maybe 2 or 3 days. So it's sort of
Mm.
a tribute to her. I didn't plan it, but here we are. How do you feel about American Tale?
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I remember watching it many times as a kid. So back then I loved it. I need to rewatch the Don Bluth films as well.
Yeah, there's just so much to rewatch. Like there's only so much time in the day, and there's so much new things to see, and there's so much old things to rewatch. But
Yeah, it'll probably be one that I get back to when I do a podcast on it, because eventually I want to do like when I start iHeart Animation, I want to do like a series and a Don Bluth series, and
mm,
I like doing series of things. So eventually I will get to it in like doing a Don Bluth rewatch.
yeah, no, that's a good idea. And for me, I didn't grow up with Don Bluth films really, so I don't really have nostalgia to this. I've probably seen this maybe twice, if not twice, just once, and it was okay. I'm not the biggest Don Bluth fan. My opinion of him as a person has vastly improved over the years compared to when I was a ignorant teenager, and now I have a lot more respect for him, especially after reading his recent autobiography that he wrote called Somewhere Out There, actually.
Mm.
But yeah, but overall, I'm still not a big fan of his films, and this film, but I do like the song Somewhere Out There. I think it's probably, I really want to say it might be the best song of a Don Bluth film ever, but I'm hesitant to say that because of the songs in Anastasia. So
Mm,
it's up there, but
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, Jonathan, you're doing amazing. You're two away from the next benchmark. You still have all your lifelines. Can you get to the million? 20,000. We haven't stumped you yet. Will this one stump you? Which of the following is the correct title of the Best Animated Short Film winner at the recent 95th Academy Awards? The Boy, the Cat, the Wolf, and the Cow. The Boy, the Rabbit, the Tiger, and the Hedgehog. The Boy, the Mouse, the Hound, and the Elephant. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Have we stumped you finally?
Maybe, maybe not. I
Oh,
think I know the answer.
take your time. You have lifelines if you need them.
I don't think I saw this, but I think the title I feel like has stuck in my head. And the main thing that I remembered from the title was a boy and a fox and two other animals. And since there's the fox in only one of these titles, I think I'm going to go with D, final answer.
How sure are you?
Like 90%.
Well, that's pretty good. This one you had to think about a little bit, but you went with D, the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. Is it correct? Your answer is correct.
Okay.
Congratulations. Good thing you remembered the fox. Otherwise,
Yeah,
my
I need
math
to
would be
see
off.
this one. It has a very cool looking style.
I definitely recommend it. I think you'll like this a lot. It's on Apple TV, and it it's not very heavy in terms of plot, but it's very heavy in terms of like emotion and charm. Like it's been
Mm.
described as like a Winnie the Pooh esque kind of short, but with like very deep uh, thoughts and themes. I think I really very interested to know what you think when you see this.
This looks like something that my cousin Sarah would like. I should maybe get her to watch it with me and then we can do like a mini podcast.
There we go. I help people with their podcasts on the show too. But you know, I highly recommend it. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It's something. It's based on a book which I've never read. I think it's a recent book too, like within the past
The
two or
the
three
thing that
years.
reminded me of it is because I was looking through I think I put it in my Amazon shopping cart and hit save for later. And I saw it in there like yesterday or the day before because I was looking for something that I had saved. And that's why it was stuck in my head. And I just remembered the fox.
Well, that was serendipitous. Good thing you update
Apparently.
your Amazon. Yeah, Amazon saves lives. There we go. There's the title for this game show. Okay, Jonathan, you're one away from the benchmark. You still have all your lifelines. If you get that, you'll have 32,000 no matter what, and you'll gain the double dip. So let's see what it is. 32,000. Who was the voice of the explorer Charles Muntz in the animated 2009 Pixar film Up? Donald Sutherland, Max von Sydow, Christopher Plummer, or Dustin Hoffman?
I feel like I know, but I think I'll do the ask the expert and see what Stanford says.
Okay, we'll use one of your first lifeline as the expert, just for fun. What are you leaning towards?
I think I'm leaning towards Christopher Plummer, but I'm not. It's only like maybe 60% sure.
Okay, so let's ask Stanford. I asked him this question before. He said, "I'm 100% sure the answer is C,
Okay.
Christopher Plummer." So I don't know
Okay.
if you want to go with that or not, but
I'll go with Stanford. C, Christopher Plummer, final answer.
all right, you had to use your first lifeline of the game, which is what they're for. You went with Stanford. He said it's Christopher Plummer. You were thinking Christopher Plummer. Is it? Do you continue on? Your answer is correct. Congratulations. You have 32,000 points no matter what. You can't lose that. Thank you, Stanford. You helped out there. Yeah, Christopher Plummer was Muntz and Ed Asner was Mr. Frederickson. And coincidentally, both of them passed away the same year. They both died in 2021. So
Mm.
Not, I was gonna say fun fact, but that's not really fun, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
But Up for me was a movie that growing when I early or when it came out, I wasn't the biggest fan of Up. I the the whole plot with Months being alive when Mr. Fredrickson is because Munch was like 20 something when Mr. Fredrickson was a boy. And then when Mr. Fredrickson is like 80 something, Munch is still alive and looks to be the same age as Mr. Fredrickson. And I just couldn't forgive the movie about that. And then the whole, the plot with the dogs and all that. I didn't like it that much. As I've grown, as I've seen it multiple more times, I've mellowed, I guess, but it still bugs me the whole age thing that how they're the same age.
I don't think I ever really thought about it, but I guess the fact that he's some kind of a scientist, it's like, well, maybe he invented something that's keeping him young or
Yeah,
young-ish, because he's not
young.
really young.
Yeah, they're both like that means he'd be at least 100, and I don't know. It just threw me for a loop, but it is a charming movie. Besides the annoying parts, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Okay, Jonathan, you used the as the expert, but you have the other lifeline double dip, so you still have three lifelines. So let's keep going. You're five away from the million, 64,000 points. What is the name of the threatening cat in the animated 1982 Don Bluth film, The Secret of Nim? Is it ghoul, dragon, chimera, or griffin?
Dragon, final answer.
You didn't hesitate with that. You just said dragon. Final answer. Your answer is correct. I take it you've seen this film a lot, huh?
Not a lot. I read the book a lot. The
Oh,
movie,
okay.
when I watched the movie after I read the book, and I hated the movie because it was so different from the book. But I need to revisit it because now I don't care about that as much anymore, and I do like Don Bluth, so I probably will like it a lot more now than I did when I was a surly teenager.
I like how both of us were just like bad teenagers, but not bad teenagers, early teenagers, as you say. Was Dragon in the books?
I think there was a cat in the book, but I can't for sure remember if he was named Dragon, but I remember that he was named Dragon in the movie.
There you go. That stood out. Yeah, I recently rewatched this within the past couple of months, I guess, and I would probably say this is probably my favorite Don Bluth film. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be this one. It was his first one, and I think he kind of topped it here. But anyway, you knew that. If I didn't watch this movie a couple months ago, I would not have any idea about that question. You're four away from the million. You still have three lifelines, Jonathan. I'm excited. Let's see what we can do for you.
I'm kind of shocked that I'm doing this well.
I was watching the last episode you were on. I think you got to the 250,000 points. So you're catching back up to where you were last time. 125,000. Let's go. Which relative of the villain Mandrake dies near the beginning of the animated 2013 Blue Sky Studios film epic? Is it his father, his son, his mother, or his daughter?
It has been way too long since I've seen Epic.
All right, take your time. You have the lifelines if you need them. It's weird to think 2013 is a whole 10 years ago. It's a whole decade
Yeah,
ago this came out.
I don't know if this would be one that Stanford would know or not. I remember a death in that movie,
Okay.
but I
Let's hope
don't
so.
know. I don't remember if the death that I am thinking of was related to the villain.
Stanford or you do 50-50 or double dip?
Let's do 50-50.
Okay. Are you leaning towards anything?
I think I'm leaning towards his mother because I remember a character voiced by Beyonce dying, and if I'm thinking of the correct character, maybe it's that. I don't know, But
All right.
if I might end up using double dip as well.
Well, that's a good thing. If you use a 50-50 and a double dip, you definitely get it right. But you said
Yeah.
50-50, so let's get rid of two. It wasn't his mother. It's his daughter
Okay.
or his son.
Okay, well then I'm gonna use double dip because if I'm wrong, then I can just choose the right one and get it
Yeah,
right.
you'll definitely get it right. So, final answer using double dip.
I guess I'll guess his father because that seems like a classic villain thing.
And just to confirm, you are using double dip.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for your first answer, you said his father. Your answer is wrong.
Okay.
What do you want to
So then
guess
I'll double
now?
dip and guess his son.
Well, is it his son, or did I like do some weird mind game and it's actually none of the above? Your answer is correct. Good job. You had to use two lifelines, but hey, got you through it. Yeah, so Mandrake is the one at the right, and that's the son at the left, and the son dies near
Okay.
the beginning of the film, and it's because of the son's death that's what fuels him to wage war on the Leaf people, which is where Beyonce's people. That's where she comes in. So it's because
Okay.
of the son's death. But
Yeah,
hey,
I forgot about what the two characters even looked like. The main thing I remember is there's hummingbirds and a
Beyonce.
giant girl and Beyonce dies.
I mean, I don't blame you. I last year I did a rewatch of the Blue Sky Studios films, just to pay tribute to them since after they went defunct. So if I hadn't seen Epic, then yeah, I also would not remember this.
Mm,
Anyway, Jonathan, you're doing amazing. You only have one lifeline left, one Stanford, but it may be enough. You're three to the next million. Let's keep going. 250,000. This is where you were last time, and you walked away. But let's see what happens now. The animated 2020 short, If Anything Happens, I Love You, which won the Best Animated Short Film Award in the 93rd Academy Awards, deals with the aftermath of which grim event? It's a kidnapping, a school shooting, a drug overdose, or presidential assassination. Let me just say this is probably the darkest question I've ever had on this game show. So sorry to anyone who's watching.
I don't remember if 2020 was one of the years where I watched all the shorts or not. I'm gonna guess I haven't even seen this. So let me just do another Ask the Expert and see what Stanford says.
Final answer.
Yeah,
Okay, you can use your last lifeline and ask Stanford. He said, I'm 75% sure that just be a school shooting.
that's what I was leaning towards as well. So I guess I will go with B, school shooting. Final answer.
All right. You can trust Stanford on this, and you also lean towards it. If you get it right, you keep going. If you get it wrong, it was nice having you. Jonathan, your answer is correct.
Okay.
Congratulations. Uh, Thank you, Stanford, for that. Yeah, it's really sad. A short. It's like 12 minutes long, and it's on Netflix. But it's about these parents just dealing with the grief of their daughter who died in a school shooting. And I think if anything happens,
Mm,
I love you was the last text message that she had texted them, or they had texted her. I think she had texted
mm,
them, and that's what it's named after that. This was
okay.
like after there was a whole bunch of school shootings in a row in America at the time, but it's uh,
I
it's
don't think I
it's a
saw this one. I think I read about it, and that's probably why I remember the school shooting thing.
mhm. It's one of the few that I saw because it was on Netflix and I had some Netflix account. There.
It's too hard to watch all of the animated shorts because
Yeah,
they're all over the place and some aren't
yeah,
even available for the public to watch. The only
exactly.
times that I've been able to for sure watch them all is when the rotoscopers have been given access to watch them all and write about them.
Okay.
And if that doesn't happen, then I don't get to see them all.
No, it is it is hard. I don't know how they expect people to see them. Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, you got that right. You use all your lifelines. You have none no more, but you're two away from the million. Jonathan, the 500,000 point question. I'm so excited. The Lake Titicaca segment of the animated live action 1942 Disney Canon film Saludos Amigos features which character? Is it Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Pluto?
Donald Duck, final answer.
That was the quickest anyone ever answered the 500,000 point question. Such confidence. Jonathan, your answer is correct.
I think I've
Oh,
seen these films a lot more than the average person because I've done a podcast on them.
yeah,
And yeah, I've watched this several times. So
yeah.
I'm very familiar with this, even though it's probably extremely obscure to some people. I'm very familiar with this movie.
Exactly. That's why I put it up at the 500,000 points. But yeah, you're the right guy to see this because you've seen it in your Disney Cannery watching for podcasts and whatnot. And Saludos Amigos it's not a bad film, but it's like first of all it's like 42 minutes, so it's barely a film, and then it's I don't know, it's some of it's like documentary type, some of it is it's okay. I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
I like it just for its historical significance. I like the story behind it, maybe more than the movie itself.
Mhm. And that's probably a good way to put it. Jonathan, I'm so excited. You are going to see the million point question. You've never seen a million point question in any of
No,
the previous games, and this, if you get this right, and you will win the million point question, and there won't be a round two. And it's only game three, so I'm kind of excited. You don't have any lifelines, but let's breathe a little bit. Let's see what happens, Jonathan. 1 million points. Oh, I feel I'm more nervous than you. Okay, 1 million points. Let's go. In the animated 2009 DreamWorks animation film Monsters vs. Aliens, the monster Bob is said to have been created by combining a ranch flavored dessert topping with a genetically altered what? Is it a tomato, a potato, a cabbage, or an eggplant?
I think I'm gonna walk away because it has been far too long since I've seen Monsters vs. Aliens. I do not remember.
Well, you don't want to take a guess. Or you don't have
I'm
to. No, you walk away. If you walk away 500,000, that's almost a guarantee. You'll come back for round two if we have a round two.
yeah, I'll walk. Yeah.
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer.
Jonathan, congratulations. You've been pulling my heartstrings this whole game. I was just on the edge of my seat, like, oh, you're going to 500,000, you're going to the million. And then I'm glad that I'm glad. I'm not glad that you walked away. But I'm glad you didn't lose. Let's just say that. And I'm sure you're glad too. So just for fun, which if you had to take a guess, what would you say?
The, I don't know. The pure guess, maybe eggplant.
If you told me eggplant, final answer, you wouldn't have 500,000. You'd have 32,000. So it was wrong. It was actually tomato.
That
So
was going to be my other guess, but I remembered that he was blue, and eggplant is closer to blue than tomato,
no,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
why.
no, it makes no sense why a tomato. It's just something that was said. I think it's a funny joke in a line, and that became canon. But yeah, he's a mutant tomato. And actually, if you had Stanford, his answer was tomato as well, so that might have helped. But Jonathan, you played amazingly. You went this further than you've ever been before, and you leave with 500,000 points, which is a huge number. And again, like I said, if there's a round two, that's almost a surefire guarantee that you will be coming back. But I will keep you in touch and let you know as well. But for after this exciting game, is there anything you want to say, or how can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at John J. North, and then I've got my iHeart Movies podcast. I've got the Every Version Ever podcast where I talk about every version ever of a bunch of classic stories. I'm in the middle of Pinocchio right now, and later on I'll be doing Nutcracker, Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella. I've done War of the Worlds, Little Women. If it's a classic story, I will probably get to it at some point.
Secret
And then of
Garden,
course
right?
Disney Movie Marathon. What?
Secret Garden as well, right?
Yes. I would like to do another of those because there's a few more of those that I haven't done yet. I might try and get to that one next year and finish off the Secret Garden to actually do every version ever of something.
Yeah, it's really a lot of work that you put into it, so I commend you on that. So congrats for that, and thanks for playing, and congrats on getting 500,000. For
Yeah,
everyone else,
thanks for having me.
for everyone else watching. Jonathan made it to the 500,000 points, not the million, so we still have 7 more contestants to go. Will one of them make it to the million? Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.